Good on my end.
All right. Hello and welcome to our January regular meeting of Mosier Community School Board. Tonight, Tuesday, June. Doesn't look like June out there. January 9th. Please bear with me. I'm a little bit jet lagged, just got back from travel late last night, but our fearless leader is out sick. We are also, I don't expect Thad to join us, but I believe he's also sick, and Avelia has a work conflict tonight. So we do have a quorum, but if we lose anyone, we'll lose our quorum. So please help me keep eyes on that, as we'll need all four of us here tonight. I'd like to start, just first of all, welcome everyone. And to make a couple changes to the agenda and to approve the changes to the agenda. So we will, item number 6, the treasurer's report, since Avelia is not able to be here tonight, we will skip that for tonight and save it for next time. I'm also going to skip the DOG grant update, item 11. And item 12, the policy progress. So those will all be scratched from the agenda for this meeting and moved to next month's regular board meeting. And I would propose adding, I believe we have Matt Henry here. Matt, you have 2 action items that I'm aware of. One having to do with hiring an auditor, and the other for changes to the calendar for school conferences. Is that correct? And the 2 action items we need to add to your
Yes, and are you seeing me at all?
I'm not seeing you, but I'm hearing you.
Okay, I will work on that then, because I'm not quite sure what's going on. I don't want to screw this up, but yes, a request for the board to consider a change in the conferences coming up next month. They're scheduled for Valentine's Day the 14th and then the 15th, and this was put together last year, and there was a request to consider changing to the 13th and the 15th, but then someone actually pointed out to me today that the board meeting is on the 13th. So I'm sure Mary Ellen and Lisa will probably weigh in on it, but I just wanted to put that in front of the board. And then there is an auditor planning to be here to visit with Alyssa and myself Wednesday. And you saw that email, I'm assuming.
And Matt, you just want approval for those funds to hire the auditor?
Yeah, yes. And
yep.
we did look at numbers. Alyssa put some numbers together over the last 3 years, and the numbers proposed by this Holly Rogers are right about the same.
All right, so we'll add 2 action items to the ED report. Let me bear with me as I got 2 screens here, which is agenda item 8. And we will, and then I think that's it. Any other changes to the agenda?
Nope. I will share some things from the business manager who when in my report, just a couple of things really quickly.
All right. Well, then I will make a motion to approve the agenda as proposed with those changes, eliminating items 6, 11, and 12, and adding 2 action items to agenda item 8, the executive director's report. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thanks, McKenna. All in favor? Any opposition? All right, thanks all. I don't have any pre-submitted public comments. I will just reiterate that if you have any interest and you're listening in submitting comments to the board, we welcome feedback And you could email Dan or myself or any of the board members. Our emails are online, and we welcome your input. And that then, without further ado, will lead us to Rob, your presentation. If you could kindly just introduce yourself, and I will let you take the floor. And maybe Robin, you can help me, or maybe it's just my own view that Rob is not on speaker view.
Top right of your screen where it says view, you can change and switch out for you.
Got it. So I'm putting Rob on speaker view. You can all do as you wish. Rob, you have the floor. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And we would love to hear an update on our ED search process.
Yeah, so this evening I want to provide an update, and I want to share with you the results from the community survey, kind of high level results, and then also the kind of an updated timeline on some dates, I think, based on how things are going, and so kind of share with that. And I'm hopeful that also one of the things that you had mentioned earlier is that you wanted to involve some key partners or people to help with the screening. And so if you know who those names are, and if you provide those to me, then I can reach out to them over the next couple of weeks and see if they're available. So those are kind of the topics. The applications are open until the 20th of January. So we still have a little over a week and a half to go. And we already have kind of hit a good number. So, you know, the response is about what was expected. So that's good news. So you're going to have some candidates that are excited and interested in this position. So I'll start with, I'm going to share my screen now and show the survey. And I'll send a written, kind of PDF of this so you can post it to your website. But this is just kind of a high level view of the survey. Now, the first question was related to the person when they responded to the survey. Now, sometimes a person has more than one role. They might be a parent and a staff member, etc. But the survey has them choose the role that they're responding to the questions as. So, and the majority here, as you can see, 82%, 28 people were parents, community members, or board members. And so that number is actually higher than normal when I do these surveys. The staff participation was lower than usual, but it does show you've got a good number of folks externally that want to participate. Now, one of the things we can do with this survey is that if you want to filter and see what a particular group responded, we can do that. So be thinking as I go through it, if there's any filters you want to put on this to look at some different views. How many years have you been associated with the school? This was surprising. Usually this is a much more people that have been around longer, and actually 2 to 3 years. So you've got a lot of people that are kind of new to the school that are responding to the survey. So that is a good piece of data to know. And feel free to stop me if you have any questions as I go through. This next question is about culture and the ability to bring people together to work to achieve a great result. And these are the 5 big research-based elements of culture to build a culture. And as you can see, the number 1 response was to listen and communicate effectively. And you can see from this table the breakdown of, that these were fairly close with 3.62. The way that they do the math on this is 12 people had this response as the number 1 thing. As you can see, 12 was, above, 8 was the closest, 7, 5. So this had a pretty strong, so as we do the screening and as we design questions, we're going to want to be screened for someone who can listen and communicate effectively. So that's kind of the purpose of the survey, is to get some insight into what kind of search that we should, and questions and things to look for in materials. The next question had to do with making quality decisions. And here are the 5 elements of quality decision making. And the number 1 was identifying the problem to solve. And again, that had 15 people ranked that as number 1 important thing to look for, with common sense being the second strongest. And we can design questions around some of these things. Like we could ask a question around how in your decision making process, and then have a person respond to that. That's one of the ways that we can match survey to search. In the area of leadership, ranking, what do you feel is the most important thing for your school right now, your school and district? And this was resounding, very strong. This is more than usual when I do these in comparison to other places. Having a strong mission, vision, and values. That was overwhelmingly 18 people had that as the most important, and followed, not even a close second, the other ones. So you're not really looking for someone to bring a bunch of new ideas and new ways of doing things, at least the people that responded to the survey. Looking more for someone that has a strong vision, mission, and values, and not necessarily looking for an instructional leader, but empowerment and getting results are also important. That's how that broke down. In the area of management, rank the elements in terms of importance for your district to work on. And far and away, the number 1 was organization, communication, and follow-through. Again, that's a very high score. So that's an important thing to look for as we screen candidates and go through the process. All right, this question deals with, in the area of culture, what to work on first. And the number 1 thing to work on first, again, it wasn't even close, is this green. That's signifies something that is important to work on right now. And so coming together to work as a united team, far and away number 1. And so if you look at these overall numbers, these other ones were pretty far behind. You had 19 people that said that was the most important. So leadership. Now, these are all important qualities of leadership, but we rank the number 1 that comes out on top, and that is working to build relationships and connections with staff and students, followed by creating an enjoyable work environment. That's with a sense of fun and togetherness, and then strong instructional leadership. So those are kind of the top 3. And again, I'm going to send you a copy of this so you'll have this data, so don't feel like you have to write it down or commit it all to memory. In the area of management, the top thing to look for was transparent, open, and honest communication. And then here's the theme of follow through on decision and commitments. And then being able to deal with difficult parents and students was number 3. Okay, so we also had people respond to what kind of information they'd like to provide for potential candidates. And again, I won't read through these because I'll send you the report, but we have that data. And then also respondents had an opportunity to leave their name and email address if they wanted a copy of this. And so anyone who's done that, I'll send an individual copy of the results to. And And then I usually ask a question if they know of a good candidate, and I got some responses to that. I won't share that in this, public meeting, but that is one way that I can reach out to see if people that may have been mentioned are interested in applying for this job. So, any questions about the survey or something that you'd like to analyze deeper?
Emily, go ahead.
Hi. Yeah, thank you, Rob. That's awesome, and it's really interesting to look at. I'm excited to dive deeper into it. I know that the survey is officially closed. However, I also am wondering if the staff feels like they had enough time and opportunity to provide their input, and if there's any opportunity to kind of pause and like maybe give them another chance. It would be great to hear more, or it would be great to hear from more staff what they're looking for in their leadership.
Yeah, that's a great. We absolutely have time. The applications are still open for another 10 days, so we're not even going to screen applicants until 2 weeks from now. So if that's something that Matt is able to facilitate over the next couple of 10 days, that'd be great. I think you can send a link to people, but if you are at a meeting and you say, everyone open up your computer, I want you to take 10 minutes to do this survey, it's really important, then you get, almost 100% participation. So I can totally open that and do that if that's something that the board feels is important and Matt is able to facilitate.
What do others think on that?
Matt or Mariella and Lisa, be curious for your thoughts. I'd be happy to have input from all the staff. That'd be terrific. But I also realize you have busy jobs and lives, and
I think it's super important for it to be open one more time,
especially for the staff. Yeah,
because I think some didn't see it. I can't remember when it came out.
Yeah,
but I think there's some people that weren't able to participate in it.
Great.
Rob, do you remember when you sent it out?
Yeah, it started, right after Thanksgiving, and then you got everyone pretty busy up through the holidays. So I can completely understand it getting lost in the pile of things to do at that time of year.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like Marie had something to add too.
Did you want to say something? Okay.
Oh, I think if we have time, we should take advantage of all the time and hopefully get, as many folks. So.
Okay.
Can I ask one question that came up? I don't remember. Was it sent in Spanish also?
No, it was not sent in Spanish.
Because I feel like that would be super helpful. We have about 45% Spanish speaking population.
Yeah, I believe there's a way to translate this. I can look into that.
I'll help
Yeah.
in any way I can, and I would echo Mary Ellen's last point. That would be very important.
Okay, so yeah, I'll look into how that's done. I think it's possible, and I'll open it as soon as this meeting's over. I'll open it, and Matt, I'll resend you the link, and try to get a link for Spanish as well.
And then can we also ask Mary Ellen, what do you think is the best way to get this in front of the staff members?
I do know that we have a professional development meeting on Friday. So there's, I think, time that could be allotted in that slot for us to just pop open our computers and go for it.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah, there was a little bit of time set aside and just said, all right, everyone take up your laptop that hasn't participated and get to it.
Mhm.
Cool.
The
Yeah,
schedule will warrant for that on Friday.
it will, Jen.
Yes, it will. Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you. I
And-
think that would be really helpful. And I would just, I feel like it'd be a missed opportunity if we don't get to hear from more staff, because we want the staff members to be engaged and we want them to like who is picked and want to work under them. So thank you very much.
And I would just add, I don't know if the professional development includes all staff or, just the classified teaching staff, but just to make sure, maybe Jen, you can help that the staff that are not engaged in the professional development are also
Yeah.
just aware that it's open a bit longer and they have another opportunity if they haven't had a chance.
Okay,
Rob, the
so
survey is really helpful. Thank you. I would love, I don't know if this is the right moment to talk a little bit about the screening committee with you.
this is the time to talk about that topic. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go about, inviting people. Board members can individually send me names, and I can send out invites, or you can discuss names right now. And if you have consensus on people that you'd like to invite, we can do it that way. If this is because we are doing a search for an executive, superintendent, executive leader of your district, and it's hiring, we could go into executive session to discuss that as well.
Would we have had to notice that executive session though in our agenda beforehand?
Typically,
Yeah.
that's done ahead of time.
And then I'd be interested, I think it's important to have board representation. This is the person that we hire that communicates with the board in the screening committee. I think it'd be ideal to have.
What we'll do is,
Okay, go ahead.
we're going to build a spreadsheet of everyone who applies, and that spreadsheet, it'll all be able to be done electronically and virtually, right? So we won't have to bring everyone together in a room at the same time, because to read through a person's materials for one candidate will take about 20 minutes, right? So and I'll have activities for the person to do independently to screen them, and we can have all of the board or any board members who want participate in that screening. So I don't think we're going to I don't think we'll have more than 10 applicants. So it will, as you see, it'll be a few hours of time to do the screening, but we'll have a process where people will have an opportunity to screen individually and then come together as a group and discuss their findings. And then what we do with that information is gather that and then bring it to the board in an executive session, and then select from the information who to invite for the first round of interviews. So we will need an executive session at your board meeting on the, I saw you have one on the 13th. And we would also need a meeting to get together to discuss screening results prior. Well, actually, we could do it. Yeah. Well, I can show you a revised timeline here. I won't get ahead of myself, but that's the process of the screening. Any board member who wants to participate will have an opportunity to do that.
And then can we nominate, parents, community members, but also teachers or staff?
Yep. Yeah, you can do. I've seen it done some different ways. Like one of the ways I've seen it handled is, if staff are interested, they would talk to their supervisor, and then Matt would bring forward kind of a list of people, and then the board could approve that list as a group, or decide what pick from that the list of interested people.
So my one concern is that we don't have that list prepared for tonight to approve.
Yeah.
But we'd want to have it together prior to our February meeting, right?
Yeah, we would need probably a meeting after the applications close. Because we could put it out right now if you're interested, let people know. And
Yeah.
then we would have that list of names, and then the board at a meeting or in executive session could discuss it and make those selections. And then people could get started screening. So sometime after January 20th, if we scheduled a half-hour executive session to have those conversations, then we'd be right on target.
All right, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. So if we could schedule something, say,
Yeah.
2 weeks from tonight, even, or I don't know if Tuesday is your evening that you like to meet, but
Typically, let me just look at my calendar. So like the 23rd.
How about the 23rd?
Looks
Would
good
that
to me.
work for folks? Okay. Going to make a motion that we schedule a meeting with a special meeting with executive session for the 23rd of January from 5:30 to 6.
I second.
Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Dan and I will notice that meeting and send out an agenda and notice of it with the executive session reason, Rob. And then I would say, to all listening and to the community, if you are interested in participating in screening through the applicants that we have, this is our chance now as the board to reach out to people we think we'd like to nominate to this committee and see if they're interested, and then also for folks to contact us and contact anyone on the board if you are interested in participating in being in that screening committee. And
I usually like to ask that someone write, no more than a page, but why they want to be on the screening committee, so that when you review what their responses, it'll give you some information to help make your decision.
Great. And then Matt as well, it would be great to have you bring forward some representation from staff.
Yeah, I was gonna actually ask Rob, last district I was in, we had 1,100 students and we had a committee of about 20 max. So I'm just wondering if there's a number. I already have 4 or 5 people who have expressed interest from staff, Rob, that you think is workable. Or
yeah, it's important to keep the group now, because they'll be looking at things electronically, virtually, and they sign non-disclosures, etc. I think the most I've worked with is 21, 22. I was a pretty big group, but a good number is 10 to 12.
so that would basically, by design, we'd want to get good representation then, because
Yeah.
that might.
Yeah, you want to select people that are representative of the school, for sure. And I think it's important and I'll communicate this with the screening members, is that they're not selecting who to invite. They're reviewing the applications and providing feedback, and the board will listen to all that information and then make their decision on who to invite for the interviews. So their input, and then the boards decide.
So if we had four, let's say we had 4 or 5 staff, that I'm also including you, Matt and Jen, if you guys are interested in that screening. Then we've got the board and maybe 2 or 3 parents. Does that seem that too many?
Whatever the board's wishes are in coordination with Rob, I mean, you guys really should just make your decision. I think if you limited the staff to 4, let's say that's fairly limited. I would think the staff would need to be closer to 7 or 8, but that's just my opinion.
Now, also understand, and I'll get to your question real quick here, Marie, but when we bring in the finalists, there is a visitation day where anyone in the community can listen to them and provide their feedback. So there will be an opportunity for anyone that wants to weigh in on a who they'd like the board to select. Will have that chance.
Marie, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that, I think we should extend the invitation and just see how many folks are interested. And I think this is a really important decision that needs to be made. And I don't think I think in the interest of kind of reflecting what this survey is saying, that people are very interested in open and honest communication. We should, allow it to be as accessible as possible and see how many folks we get. And I know it can be complicated and when there are a lot of people involved, but I do think it would reflect well to make it as accessible and really make the community and staff feel like everyone can participate throughout the entire process. That's my 2 cents.
All right, I like that, Marie. Let's hold off on deciding the exact composition of this group till our executive session, but invite everybody that's interested to come forward and write a paragraph about why they're interested, and either send it, if you're staff at the school, send it to Matt or a parent as well, Matt or Jen, or to one of the board members, and then we will compile that information and discuss it at our executive session on the 23rd. How does that sound?
Sounds
All right.
good.
I think that sounds good. And so that's probably another thing to add to the conversation on Friday when you bring up the survey with the staff. And then I have a quick question. Is the goal for that screening committee to get to consensus on a couple of applicants that move forward?
Yeah, what typically happens is when people score individually, you get to see patterns, right? And then when they come together to discuss, some people might change some of their views, but you'll definitely get a numeric breakdown of how the candidates have scored based on 5 different elements on a rubric. So the board will just get that information. So typically what happens, there will be some people that rise to the top as people you definitely want to be inviting to the interview. And they'll usually break down into 3 different groups: people we definitely want to invite, people that we're not really sure about, and then people we're not interested in. So and so then you can discuss, the board will discuss that and make their decision on who to bring that next to the first round of interviews. So
Thank you. And Rob, I'm so sorry if you already said this, but I might have missed it. How many, you said we'll probably get around 10 applicants, and how many move forward to the first round of interviews?
Yeah, that's a discussion you can make at that executive session. You know, I think sometimes people like, if there's some people really close you're more interested in, then they keep them in the pool and have a bigger number. Some boards like to, you know, they kind of just make that decision at the moment, right? I think interviewing 5 to 8 people is pretty typical. You know, 8 is a lot, but you know, it really will depend on how people score in the screening. That's why that screening is important. And then another decision point will be, do you do that first round virtually, the interview, or do you bring people in person? I suspect, based on the applicants I see now, that you'll have people that are from out of the area applying. So it's hard if you have some people in person, some people virtually, because it's a different experience. And so I usually like to have the same playing field for everyone. So that's another thing that we're going to need to think of. We can discuss at that executive session how you want to go about that. Because we'll need to schedule that when those first round of interviews will be, and we'll do that at the meeting next Tuesday as well. Because by then we'll know exactly how many people we have to screen and what that looks like.
Great. Thank you, Rob. That's great. I'm glad to hear we're getting applications. Glad to see this process moving forward. I think there will be, I think the survey is helpful and wonderful to keep it open a little bit longer. Let us know if you can get it in Spanish, and if you can, make sure we'll get it to Matt.
Yeah, I think there's a way to do that. So I'll look into that, and I'll give Matt the update where we're at with that.
Wonderful.
Real soon. I'll open it right now, stop the share here, and I'll wait on the final report for the survey now that we're going to collect more data, and that's great.
Hey, Rob, real quick question. I don't say this as a joke, but I'm assuming if you open it up, people can't do a survey twice based on your tool.
Yeah, this survey does track, it's anonymous, unless someone puts their name on it, but it does track IP addresses, and it is designed one response per IP address. Now, if somebody is, you know, people have phones and iPads and computers, and if they're really going to multiple devices, that's something that usually doesn't happen, and it kind of and sometimes you can see if it's the same type of, like, I can go into individual ones and see if there's like that type of stuff happening, but it is set up for one survey per person, per IP address.
Great. Well, fill out the survey, everybody, and excited to get the feedback, and we'll chat in 2 weeks about our committee.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me, and you guys have a wonderful evening, and don't hesitate to reach out, email. I'll send you an update here coming up pretty soon. The board. I think you've all been getting those updates, right? When I sent a couple, and so if you have anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, folks, our next agenda item is our consent agenda. Everyone should have received the check registers in their email to review. Do we have any questions on those for our business manager? I think Alyssa is on today. Or if not,
She
anyone
isn't,
like
Julia.
it says MCS business manager.
Oh, does it? Okay. I'm wrong.
Yep, I'm here.
Wonderful. Any questions? Marie, go ahead.
I had a question about the Mosier Holiday Fair. Was that a, it looks like it was a payment. I was just curious to know what that payment was for. Also, I was hoping Matt Henry could recap the amount that was raised from the Mosier Holiday Fair.
Marie, I'll defer to, I have a rough idea, but I think I'll have Alyssa, because we have talked about that quite a bit. Did you hear that question, Alyssa? Maybe she's Alyssa, are you there?
Oh, send an
Yeah,
email.
I'm here. I'm just having some computer troubles. Hold on. I gotta look up the amount. And is the payment that you're looking for, is it 2,500?
Yes.
That was the payment for the person to organize the holiday fair. As a contract that was signed last spring. And so she had requested payment in December of 2023.
Okay, thank you. And what was the amount that was raised?
I'm trying to look up the number, but it was right under $1,000. It was like 900 and something. And I can send that out to everybody.
Okay.
Just so everybody on the board can have it.
That
It
sounds
might be-
like a pretty big loss.
Yeah, it might be something the board looks at as far as a model of approaching this. Awesome people, great tradition, but I believe there has been some changes in the last few years as to how it is put together. I know that the staff does a lot to get their classrooms ready and stuff like that. And I was also surprised at the total net based on all of that energy. It just might be a topic you guys will come back to.
Definitely. I think that's definitely something we need to discuss.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's $900 that we made after expenses, not a loss, because it's $100 per table and there's way more than 9 tables there. So I'm not sure.
Yeah,
how
that's
that all-
net 900 and
So after, I see.
yeah.
So I don't know what the other expenses
Not a
were
loss.
besides
Good to hear. But
organizers,
yeah, the
but
amount of effort, it would be great to quantify all of our efforts for sure and say, you know, if we're not meeting this goal, then it's probably not worth our time this year, but something maybe we can start setting some goals.
Correct, or renegotiate the whole approach to it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it seems like such a long-standing community tradition, and a lot of people love it and come together. But at the same time, everybody's paying a couple bucks at the door, and it's not cheap for the vendors, the tables. So it seemed, and it's a lot of effort for the teachers. So yeah, I agree with that. May be one to rethink. I don't think this is the meeting and not the moment to do it, but good flag, Marie. Any other questions on the check register? Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve the check register. Can I get a second? Thanks, Emily. All in favor? Okay, motion passes. Any opposition? Speak now. Okay, motion passes. Next on our agenda is our MTA report. Mary Ellen and Lisa.
Hello, everyone. We're here. So we reached out, of course, to our staff and asked for them to respond. And these are the responses that we got back from our MTA members. TK Explorers are studying roads and how they are built and repaired. How do we use them every day? And what are the characteristics of roads? And also studying road safety and road signs. Sounds like a fun time in that room. Primary, so that would be Fern and Billy. They wrapped up their space unit just before break and will be working on art projects during January. They painted penguins last week, and I saw them being put up on the bulletin boards out in the hallway, and they are inviting everyone to come in and take a look at their little penguinos. And then during multi-age math play, students are exploring addition and subtraction. This next one is kind of multifaceted. It's in 2-3. We have started back after the new year strong and eager to learn. We are learning about the science of snowflakes and will be incorporating STEM challenges, experiments, reading, and art into this January theme. Students are hopeful that we will see the real thing before the month is out and maybe a day off from school. We've started diagnostic testing in reading and math, and already students have shown tremendous growth in the math, in their math scores. Backing away from the teacher reports, the MTA building reps, Mary Ellen and I met with admin on January 3rd, and we discussed a few things. Here are a couple of the bullets: changes to the parent-teacher conferences in February, the need for more time to meet with our teams to plan, formal observations and goals, and the possibility for a mentor program, not just for teachers, but for the TAs as well. And then MTA building reps will meet with our MTA members on Thursday this week to discuss items from that meeting, and then the D21 union meeting, which is tomorrow, and any other positives and concerns that need our focus.
So back to classrooms. 4-5 is flying into the new year. The students are starting their geography and social studies lessons on the United States. They're beginning with the West region. In science, they're about to begin the Secrets program through the Discovery Center. Anne Marie and Sarah Grace both were awarded $1,000 grant through the Columbia Gorge STEM Hub to participate in the Secrets program, which is amazing. They are eager to get started with their students. In math, the students are about to begin long division in 4th grade. In reading, they're learning all about inferencing and doing their first research-based opinion essay. Melina, who teaches math in middle school, you have heard from her a little bit about really wanting to get into her new room, and as she has been incredibly eager to do that and has been asking for a while about when that might happen. She wrote to me that she's super excited. She was super excited when she saw the ramp go in, and she thought she'd take a little look, and she walked over to see if she could sneak in a few things. She started packing things in boxes. She asked before she went over how long it would be before she could move in, and was told that they're just waiting on an inspection. When she got in there, she was, let's say, just very surprised that the classroom was still being painted. Drop cloths were covering the carpet that hadn't been ripped out. Her whiteboards were on the floor. The overhead projector was missing in action, and the other side hadn't had anything done to it at all. She also mentioned that the front bathroom in the station was missing a wall and is in pieces after piping issue, which is supposed to be the portable's restroom. So she's very curious about how long this is really going to take. And she just wants an honest answer, because if it's going to be the year, she just wants to know so she can settle into where she's at. And was just wondering if the board has had a chance to look, if they're involved at all in that process, and just wanted to be heard. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was that Fern had organized an informal yoga class for the teachers every afternoon at 3 to practice in one of the rooms for about a half an hour, which has been really lovely. It just started this week. And I know that there was a wellness committee at one point through the board, and just was kind of curious about that, if that's something that is still happening. I know with a lot of changes on the board that some of the committees are going at this moment, but just was curious about that. The end.
Thank you for the report. I always love just hearing the details. And so my gratitude to the teachers that share the details of just, learning about roads or snowflakes or, whatever, all the details are great. And my heart really goes out to Melina and that construction project. And I know that has been a tough one, although I will say, having been at the holiday fair and seeing the inside of her classroom, she's done amazing stuff with the space she's been in. I have seen a facilities update from Dawn on that project. And I think maybe Matt, you're going to include that with your update. So maybe we'll hold off until then. And does that make sense? To give an update on the facility. Are you going to be including a facilities update, Matt?
You guys should have it, and I'll just bullet really quickly. I will mention something in response to one of the things Mary Ellen read, though, but yes.
Okay. And I will admit that I haven't been down there in a while, although I watch it from the road, and I am keenly aware of the various stages of this process, and but I haven't been in the building in a bit. I know some board members met Brent down there many weeks ago now to try to move the project along at one point. But there may be the need for another work party, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think after maybe we should touch base on that once we hear the update, because I'd be willing to help paint or do something to speed it along. And then on the wellness committee, I thought I saw that on a draft agenda. Is that something that others know more about? I don't have the answer to that one.
I too have seen discussion of that, and I'm trying to find it. Maybe it was, I'm going to put something I took off the agenda. There has been a request to revive the wellness committee. We really, because there was so much to do around immediate needs to security, stabilizing the ED role, hiring an interim ED, putting out an ED search, we sort of retracted the committees that we had to what felt like the necessary minimum. And so we've maintained a number, like a fundraising committee, an ED search committee, but the sort of resources have shifted. But I hear interest in reviving the wellness committee, and Kay Alton was on that committee when she was on the board. And so when she left the board, there hasn't been a replaced leader, at least from the board. And the facilities committee, last meeting, I believe, transitioned to be an administrative committee.
Yes.
So, I don't have a lot of clarity on whether or not we'll be reviving the wellness committee, but it sounds like there's interest, and that's certainly something we can discuss.
Julia, I know Dawn is here this evening, and I thought she had mentioned that we're required to have a wellness committee. Dawn, are you listening? Can you chime in? I don't know. Yeah, because that was something she was going to talk to us about, that through the state, we need a wellness committee. That at our school, we have to have one. And she's talked about that being a requirement. And I know she was going to reach out and talk about that.
Okay, maybe it was in the note from Dawn about facilities.
Yeah, that probably was. Okay.
Saw something about a wellness committee.
Well,
I would invite Dawn to chime in if she's on here, and otherwise we just flag that we have
she's trying to chime in. Yeah.
Go for it.
Hi. So we were under the assumption that we had to absolutely have a wellness committee. It had to do with an ODE review that we had gotten. So an ODE. So a wellness committee could be something we could venture into later. It's not as necessary as we thought it was. So we can choose to actually do it at a later date if that works for everyone.
Don, while we have you, you may be the best person to give an update on the status of, you know, the annex buildings and getting actually students and teachers in there.
Right. So when the building was moved, we really had not a whole lot of access to the inside except for with ladders. And I know there's still some construction equipment in there as well. But it is correct that until we get the ramp bought off, we actually cannot occupy the building. So we knew that we had some stuff that we still needed to clean up and paint. And it was just a matter of timing. You know, things got delayed, things got moved around, and there's other things that, as you well know, have kind of come to the forefront. But so once that's all done, we do have a move in place. The ramp is almost completely done. Now we're just waiting on the county to come out and actually say that it's okay to go ahead and use that ramp.
It'll need some rails. I'm
It has
almost
the rails.
certain.
It has the rails. The rails been put on. Unfortunately, it got painted, but it looks like it got painted and then it rained. So it looks like it's going to have to be repainted as far as the ramp goes. And it has to have an anti-slip paint as well.
Don,
But we're
do you
getting
have a sense of, you know, giving like realistic sense of when we could expect to have students and teachers in there so that Melina's not packing up her things prematurely or, you know, getting her can sort of set expectations.
Yeah, now that we have the rails on, that was one of the pieces we were waiting on. It's really up to the county as to when they can get somebody out. I would hope that it would be within the next month, maybe 2 at the most. It just depends on how backlogged the county is.
What about the bathroom issue? Is there, you know, beyond having the county sign off on the railing, it sounds like there might be some work to do.
Yeah, so the bathroom issue is just a matter of getting some sheetrock up, which is in the facilities notes. So it is something beyond the scope of our handyman's capabilities at this point because he's so taxed with so many other things. So we actually have to hire somebody from outside to come in and do the sheetrock. And then once the sheetrock's done, then Camp's Plumbing will come back in and put up all the fixtures and then it'll be ready to go.
Marie?
So that might transpire sooner than getting the ramp bought off.
Yeah, there's a great local sheetrocker. The company's name is Mosier Plaster Company. I can send the info to you, Don and Matt, and hopefully some projects could get underway without the occupancy permit. You know, maybe we could I'll send that info.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm surprised to hear the county is so far out. I've had things inspected and signed off by the county recently, and it wasn't a long wait, but maybe this is a different level of scrutiny or different kind of inspector. I don't know, but if
Well, it's over projection because I don't want to say that it's going to happen in a week and then it takes 2 or 3 weeks. So
right.
Don't actually have a definite date yet. We can't ask for a date until it's completed. So that was one of the holdups. And then we couldn't get into the building while the construction was going on. So everything was kind of at a standstill, but now we're at least going to be able to progress forward.
Well, Don, as you can hear, we're pretty motivated to help you. And so if there's something we can do, whether it's calling the county and bugging them to make sure that this is a priority, or coming down to help paint, or making recommendations on sheetrocking, just let us know. I know you've got you know, many pots on the stove, so to speak, with your many titles and many hats. Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out and let us know if we can be helpful.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Don, are you still there?
Yes.
Could you clarify for me, so can employees get in before the ramp's approved and work on it? For example, if the decision's made to replace the carpet, it's not like we're saying that our maintenance person would do that, but are we technically not supposed to be in the building until the ramp is completely approved?
No, I don't think that's the case. I think we can be in the ramp. I mean, be in the building as long as we're not interfering with any other work he has to do on the ramp. It's an occupancy, so having the students in there and then all of the desks and everything in there is more of the problem.
Okay.
All right, I think that's a good transition over to Matt, to your ED report.
Yes, and I will, if you ladies have any questions on my report, I don't know if it's in front of you, no rush to get it in front of you, and or the facilities update. I will basically just wait for questions. On the facilities, after I mention a couple of things here, I will come back and briefly talk about what I would call a strategy moving forward for a different office location than was determined before I got here. And Dawn and I have been talking about that for quite a while. But anyway, that'll come a little bit later. One of my quotes up there says the function of leadership is to produce more leaders, not more followers. So I want to defer a lot of my time tonight to a couple of people who are leading. Jen's going to report out here on the agenda after me. And then Sarah Grace is also going to report out. And I'll mention, I had some comments there if you were looking at my report, but I think I'm going to skip those to maybe the next meeting due to time. I'll simply say I was looking at the strategic plan that was put together. A committee was put together in 2016. It was designed to go from 2017 to 2021. And I was just looking at some of the bullets today. And one of the goals was implement a curriculum framework. It's exactly what Jennifer and Sarah Grace will be talking about a little bit later. One of the goals was quality education received by MCS students. I think that is our biggest goal for all of us, no matter our role. Another was expanding preschool students. You guys have accomplished that. We still have 10 preschool students. That's always a moving target's a bad word, but because the state doesn't fully fund it, it always has to be thought about. And then expanding and upgrading facilities was goal number 5. So this was the last strategic plan. So I say all that because I always think, having gone through 2 massive strategic plan committees in other districts, some of the things that never change are just the quality content knowledge of your educators and your leaders, including social and emotional intelligences, in my experience. And that student data should drive everyone in education, in my opinion. And then a unified mission or vision. And I saw on our website the other day too, as well, it says our mission: fostering independent learning and citizenship in partnership with and for the benefit of our Mosier community. I thought that was really nice and short, probably be expanded upon eventually. With that last comment, I wanted to thank Jill Maynard, Emily Miller, Melina Hogue, Savannah Rogan, Anne Marie Weiger, Savannah again. Well, those ladies are mentioned twice. I asked Daphne today, could you just give me the specific names of those who lead clubs? And Friday when I was leaving, I went over to the gym as I was leaving, and there was Melina down there with probably 25 kids skating. And I was just really struck. The kids were just loving it. She was playing music and kids are out there exercising and having a blast. And I think those are really some of the unique things about Mosier that, and I bet you there are more people out there than I even mentioned, but those came up. And like curriculum, for example, when Sarah Grace speaks, there's something called benchmarks as far as vertical and horizontal alignment. We're all supposed to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars, which I believe everyone has that intent. But I don't know sometimes if everyone is aware of the investment. So since 2017 till September 1st of 2023, Alyssa told me that this benchmark curriculum, the district has spent basically $42,000 on it. So when we encourage teachers and educators to really teach, of course, the standards, but really look at their curriculum, it connects all the dots. Is all I really wanted to say. So I really think you guys are on a great track. I'm going to go ahead and just, if there's any questions, the somewhat discouraging news, but I'm an optimist, is we currently have 10 pre-K kids, but we have 149 students as of today. Now, the good news is I'd estimate 7 to 9 are expected back around the 23rd or so of January, because they've gone south or they're out of the area. So that should be up by the next meeting. I will have another coffee with the ED. I'm not quite sure where. I might try to have it off campus, just to try to encourage community input. I think sometimes our community had a call from a dad today. He was a little upset about something. Of course, I'm not going to get into it, but I feel like sometimes we have to just keep trying to make the school accessible, because people will call, and I could just tell in this guy's voice, he seemed almost like he didn't want to call, and he was a little upset. So we talked about it and we've resolved the issue, but whether it be a facilities committee that Maria spearheaded and Dawn and I are going to seek more people to be involved in that, whether it be this wellness committee, anytime we can reach out, any of us, it's to our advantage. My goal is still to speak to the chambers. Had to basically come up with membership to be able to do that. So I've worked with Alyssa. It's not a big expense. This will probably make some of you laugh, but I'm not a big Facebook person. And I've been asking for months, why is our Facebook not function? Finally, in the last week, it appears it was literally shut down. So we're in the process of fixing that. A staff member had a great point recently to me. They said, you know, a lot of folks in the Dalles, because there's so many kids over there and they lost their bond and stuff, that's probably a natural for us to try to appeal to more. But we've got to get our Facebook functioning. And I respected that you guys last month discussed that grow school concept, because it's everywhere, that need. Miss Lucille Begay, Sarah Grace and I and Jennifer were still communicating with her, but specifically we've got to find the dollars, because she'll need 4 to 5 dancers, singers, and they have to be paid a certain amount. It's in my report. Behaviorally, I feel like we continue to improve. I'm not going to speak for the teachers or anyone else, but I sense a shift in the kids. I can't think myself of a major referral in the last 3 weeks, maybe one. So the teachers are doing an excellent job handling things within their classroom, documenting maybe 2 or 3 minors. Then they have Jennifer and I become involved in dealing with that repeated behavior. So now I'm going to go ahead and the only other thing I'd mention is our PE teacher started yesterday, but she was not able to because of a child. She'll be here tomorrow. So our brand new PE teacher, Miss Rosemary Lancy, that's going to be a major improvement to all systems, I believe, in the school. And Sarah Grace is going to connect some dots for you now, if she's still out there somewhere, Sarah.
Matt, I don't want to lose sight of your 2 action items, though.
Oh, correct.
I'm excited to hear from Sarah, but I don't want to forget them. So one was, to approve the audit firm that you and Alyssa have worked hard to find. And I would make a motion to approve the audit firm that Alyssa and Matt have put forward and that has sent us a proposal and to approve that expenditure. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at it? I will say I'm happy to discuss dollars too if folks want to do that, but this is a really critical need of the schools and it's very highly time sensitive and this is something we absolutely need to get sorted out tonight.
Well said, Julia.
I'm looking really quick. I did not see a proposal.
Mm.
I'm scanning my emails. And I can do that quickly, but it's not ringing a bell for me right now, Julia.
No worries. Where did I see it?
With the letter that should have been sent for sure to you and Dan,
Yep.
Julia, but I thought we
Dan
sent
and I have it. I don't know that you need the whole details of the audit that the whole full board does.
Okay.
It's 6 pages.
Yeah, about the firm. I think we need to approve. I'm happy to circulate it for information purposes, but I don't expect you guys to read it on the spot. I think what we need to do is approve the procurement of the audit services for a total of 14,300. And I also have the figures because Dan and I both asked for them of what it's cost in the past.
Yes, that's who asked, right?
And Alyssa, I believe, prepared these numbers, but in 2020 and 2021 school year, we paid 14,637 for the auditors. In 21-22, we paid 15,823. In 22-23, we paid 17,561. So this is in line, if not less than what we've been paying. The school needs to annually do an audit. This audit is complicated because we lost our business manager, had the ESD come in, help us, thankfully, then got a new business manager. So we've got several different systems to reconcile and we're also late in the year. So I'm just really grateful to have found someone. And I would move that we approve the hire of the audit firm at that rate. Yeah, Marie.
A second.
All in favor?
Can I ask one quick question before we do that? And this is a line item in the budget, I'm assuming. Like the money is there and you've already planned that in the past?
I don't have, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Is Alyssa still there? She might be able to answer that better than I. My understanding is yes.
I'm still here. It should have been planned. I have not actually gotten a copy of the final budget for this year. I only have a draft and it does not have details. But it has to be done. Otherwise, the charter cannot operate. So I assume that it's been in every budget for every year.
Yes, and 2 other factual pieces of info, not to put pressure on you guys. It just is what it is. The state won't give any extension unless we have an audit. And then even when they do that, which they should, I hope, it'll be 2 months. And we are having an accountant has to come in first. And we should know by tomorrow if that's going to happen. The auditors are ready to go, though.
Okay, thank you.
All right, all in favor of approving the hiring of the auditors? Any objections? McKenna, are you there? Sorry, my screen is still.
You raised your hand.
Raise your
Yeah,
hand. Okay,
I'm
great.
good for hiring them.
Thanks. Okay, the second item was the calendar. And it's not actually clear to me that the board needs to approve changes in the calendar, but maybe that is true. I'm just relatively new to changes in the calendar. The other
Well,
folks.
next month, Julia, next month, or you'll begin
Yep.
to plan next year's calendar. And usually what happens is it's basically dispersed. Board, ED, or superintendent communicate with it. It goes out to teachers. My experience is it is one of those not a major thing, but it is pretty major.
Yeah.
And so, it usually is something you come to the board with.
Okay, so there's a proposal to change the parent-student conferences to avoid having them on Valentine's Day. The one wrinkle is that the 2/13 date is also a board meeting date. It's a regular board meeting. This would impact our MTA folks and other teachers that attend the board meetings. How late do the parent-teacher conferences go? Into the evening?
About 7 o'clock is when they're done.
Okay, so I don't think we'd likely want to start our board meeting after that. We could consider moving our board meeting to the 12th.
Or even the 6th. To keep it
Or
on
even the 16th.
February
one or the
6th,
other.
to keep it on a Tuesday, if that's a favored day.
Oh, like a week earlier.
Mhm.
One thing just to be aware of is the schedule with Rob.
Yeah, that's what
I
I was
don't
going to say.
know if this messes it up at all. We didn't go over that schedule in very much detail.
Yeah, I think we've got a 23rd meeting with him, and then, moving it a whole week might crunch us a bit for reviewing applications and having any kind of update. But I think if we move it within the same week, probably isn't a big deal. That's my just general sense. Yeah.
So maybe move the board meeting to the 12th of February instead of the 13th.
Yeah, that Monday would probably be better.
That works for me.
Fine with me.
I won't be able to make the 12th, so if somebody could act as secretary and take minutes, that would work.
That's one thing we could do. We could do Thursday, the 16th.
That's also a parent-teacher conference night.
Yeah, they were going to be Wednesday and Thursday.
And we're looking at the month of February, right?
Or am I reading it wrong?
Correct. Yeah, the current calendar has the conferences for Wednesday and Thursday, 14th and 15th.
I see. So we would, okay.
What about, there's no school on the 16th? We have the board meeting on the 16th.
Really, you guys is Mary Ellen, are you guys still there? Oh, they're gone.
I would,
We're here.
we're here. I would say
Okay.
the 16th might be a little bit of a conflict because the 19th is a holiday, but that's a long weekend.
So we might lose people.
Let's not get in the way of long weekends.
Yeah, and that's also, that's a PD day for teachers that day.
Mhm.
Conferences for parents too. Yeah.
Let's
Well,
just shoot for the 12th. Sounds like worked for most,
Is that
and I'm sorry.
Is that okay with
we
you,
can't make-
Marie? I hate to schedule things when I know that there's a conflict, but
Yeah, as long as someone takes minutes, I won't be here. I won't be able to attend, but I'm fine with it. Just as long as someone can cover for me.
Yeah. I can help with that.
Great.
Thanks, Emily. All right, I will maybe we make separate motions here. I'll make a motion that we change the school calendar to have parent-teacher conferences on February the 13th and the 15th. Can I get a second? Thanks, Emily. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, second motion is to change our regular February board meeting, and we'll have to send an update as well to Daphne so she can update that to accommodate the parent-teacher conferences to February 12th at 5:30.
I second.
Thanks, McKenna. All in favor? Okay, motion passed. Any opposition? Motion passes. All right, Matt, I think you were going to hand it over to Sarah Grace. I think we took care
Yeah,
of
the
this.
only other thing I would mention, I thought I emailed this to folks, but we will email out the ideas around Gizmo, because as you talk about the modular, I mean, currently the office is planned to go into Melina's room, and that was originated somewhere. I wasn't here, but it really does seem like it would be better to try to pursue Gizmo as the office so that the cafeteria could be. So I'll send that information around to you guys tomorrow.
And I would suggest we not discuss that decision in depth tonight, given that we're missing Avelia,
Right.
Thad, and Dan. But I do think folks should be aware that this is an active conversation about where the office is going to be, because there were some thoughts mostly around safety and having just one point of entry and having it down kind of in that through that side entry, the east side of the building. But there's also some good points to be made for having it in Gizmo, and I think it's just an active facilities discussion, and I'm just going to punt it for tonight because it's a bigger discussion, and I would like everybody to be able to have a chance to be involved.
Okay. Sarah Grace is going to talk about curriculum and vertical alignment, and she is certainly leading out on this thanks to her initiative and your support when we made the proposal for that position. So I'm not sure, Sarah, are you still out there somewhere?
I am, thanks. Okay, I'm gonna try to share my screen without messing this up, so bear with me. This present. Can everybody hear me by chance?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I have a love-hate relationship with Canva, so I'm hoping this works. Can you guys see it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. So basically I've been working with Jen and Matt to talk about vertical and horizontal alignment, which is actually really fascinating when you think about the multi-age perspective. If you're not familiar with vertical and horizontal aligning, horizontal would be in most schools where your grade level team meets and you align everything that you're doing within your classroom. And then vertical alignment would be talking to the educators that work above you. So I teach 4th and 5th grade, that would be talking to the middle school teachers and making sure my students are prepared for middle school. And then also talking to the 2-3 teachers that are preparing their students to come to me next year. So just some background knowledge. Aligning curriculum has been found to be extremely successful. So schools with well-implemented alignment strategies effectively address disparities in learning outcomes, especially among diverse student populations. And this is because we are creating the same content delivery throughout everything that we're teaching with our kids. Kindergarten, and in this instance, I'm going to talk about Benchmark, which is our reading curriculum. So kindergarten through 5th grade is where we use Benchmark. The vertical alignment for us would ensure that all students receive the necessary foundation, and it minimizes disparities as kids move from year to year. When curriculum is vertically aligned, students should come with the same background knowledge. So my students that come to me, their first year would know a lot of background because they use the same curriculum and the same verbiage or vocabulary or grading assessments. So they're very familiar with how it works. And it actually benefits them in the long run because they're not having to start over. Essential reasons why we really want to work on getting vertically aligned with our curriculum in reading, writing, and math, but also maintaining teacher autonomy and allowing teachers to do what they do best, which is to teach the way that they feel is passionate in their classroom. So reasons why we're trying to hone in on this subject is it reduces the time in the beginning of the year. Like I said, kids are coming in with that background knowledge from years prior. There's smaller gaps in the learning process. It's easier for parents to support their kids when we have the exact same curriculum, when we're sending home the same parent letters from the curriculum, or we're using the same leveled readers, or we're using the same consumables. Parents are very familiar with that, and it's not that every year they're transitioning to somebody doing something differently. And then greater opportunity for teachers to discuss course material, work together. We could have more professional developments that encourage like digging deeper into what we currently have, and then it streamlines all material. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes and kind of show you an example of how our reading curriculum works right now. This took me just a few seconds to pull up, and I just picked a random unit and a random week. And I know that if I would have dove a little bit deeper, I would have been able to find something way more extensive. But this is just Unit 4, Week 1, and I actually provided it for Kinder 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade curriculum. And I just wanted to show you the importance of how the curriculum and benchmark aligns. So for example, if you look up at the top, there's a light blue circle up here, and this is the essential question. And if you look at the bottom, I know it's really teeny tiny. I'm sorry, I couldn't get it bigger, but it says grade K. So that's what we're looking at right now. And the essential question is, why do people tell stories? And you're going to notice that as we move up in grade levels, these get a little bit more extensive. So in 1st grade, the essential question changes to, how do people create stories? In the same unit and the same week, 2nd grade focuses on how can a story change depending on who tells it. 3rd grade is what makes people view the same experience in different ways. And 4th grade is, what do we learn when we look at the world through the eyes of others? And 5th grade is, how can other perspectives help us evaluate the world? So obviously that's just the essential question example that we kind of focus our unit around, but that even is vertically aligned throughout all the curriculum. And then if I go back to kindergarten, excuse me, the reading focus, so the comprehension, vocabulary part, and what you're really honing in on to teach kids, even in kindergarten aligns with what we're doing in 5th grade, which I think is really cool because these kids learn skills, and then the next year they build upon those same foundational skills. And then the next year it just gets deeper and deeper. So in kindergarten for reading in benchmark, just this random unit and week, it said identify and describe the characters and setting in a story. 1st grade, it went up to talking about a narrator and who is telling the story. 2nd grade is, if you look up here, it's talking about the characters and points of view of the story, and then asking questions about the characters and events. And you notice it gets a little bit more challenging throughout the years. Grade 3 is comparing points of view and then talking about characters and events. 4th grade is understanding different points of view. So this is actually when we start 1st, 2nd, and 3rd person and asking about character and events. And then 5th grade is recognizing the author's point of view based on the story. And then again, reiterating character and events. So that's just another example of how if we align, kids are getting not the same material, but they're building upon those skills. And the last one I wanted to point out, if you're familiar with kinder and 1st grade, which I believe you all are, they're obviously doing a lot different skills for writing. So theirs doesn't necessarily align. They're learning how to write, how to formulate letters and words. So theirs has a different writing at the bottom, but I did start with grade 2. So grade 2 says write a fictional diary entry. So this is their writing lesson for the day. Grade 3 is write a narrative journal entry. Grade 4 is writing a new fictional scene. And grade 5 is write a fictional narrative, read a prompt and mentor text. So even the writing portion of the curriculum builds and is vertically aligned, which is pretty important when we talk about what we're doing with multi-age. So I'm actually using different curriculum than Anne Marie because we didn't have enough curriculum to share and do the exact same thing. But even though this week she's doing 4th grade and I'm doing 5th grade for this particular unit, we're actually teaching the same thing. So in writing, we're teaching opinion essays and we're doing inferencing and reading, which is really helpful because we're sharing 4th and 5th grade students. So this is something that Jen, Matt, and I have been working on, and we're going to put forth time during PD so that teachers can sit down with educators that teach below them and above them and really make sure that we're getting everything lined up. Our math curriculum is actually ending our subscription at the end of this school year. And so we're going to create a committee of educators. We're going to talk about it at our PD on Friday. Whoever would like to be on the committee to pilot new curriculum so that if we renew iReady, which is what we currently have, or if we choose to purchase a different math curriculum, all the teachers are passionate about it and have a positive feeling about it so that we are not only vertically aligning reading, but we're also really going to work on vertically aligning math as well. Does anybody have any questions?
Not a
That
question.
makes a lot of sense. That sounds great.
Oh, good.
Thank you. I learned a lot. Thanks.
Yeah, I would echo that too. That's really cool to see and to see how the questions progress across or as they go up in grade. And I love it. Yeah, I think that it seems smart, intentional, and strategic. Very cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Sarah Grace. Jen is on deck. She's also, I asked her to really focus, as she has with Sarah Grace as well, on working on the particular grant that we're required to be sure is made public to you folks. So Jen, whenever you want to launch into that, if Sarah Grace is done. You done,
Okay.
Grace? Okay.
All right, give me 1 second.
It looks like we lost Julia.
Oh no.
She's coming back on. She was just having a little issue with her computer.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Let me know when you guys can see my screen.
We can see it.
Okay. So what I wanted to share with you guys was just a little bit about the ODE non-competitive early literacy grant that Sarah Grace and I worked on the past month. It was a very short window. It opened up the beginning of December, and we had until January 8th to submit our application for it. It was a very extensive application. And Sarah Grace and I worked on this over break. So the allocated amount over 2 years is $84,000 that the ODE gives us. So this is the breakdown. The first year, which is this year, 80% of the funds must be spent for K-3 early literacy, and then 20% of those funds may go to 4th and 5th grade. The second year, 90% of the funds will go to K-3, and 10% will go to 4-5. One of the requirements from the state is a 25% matching of funds. So what we decided was we were going to spend it on was our curriculum lead position to provide support to students and teachers to increase students' reading and math abilities. And Sarah Grace, that is the additional position that Sarah Grace is in. So our allowable use, hang on, I have this thing in the middle of my screen. These are the areas that we're allowed to spend the money on. So to purchase culturally relevant curriculum and materials, curriculum training and PD, professional development and coaching, high dosage tutoring, and extended learning programs. Sarah Grace sent out a survey to staff to allow for their input of how the funds would be spent. Unfortunately, again, it was a really short window. They didn't have a ton of time, but we had a really good response rate to the survey. So these were the survey results that we got. So high dosage tutoring was an area that most of the teachers really wanted to see the money spent on. It would be a part-time, what Sarah Grace and I were able to work out. It would be 3 hours per day, 3 days per week, and they would work only with K-3 students. Professional development was another area that the teachers felt were important. We would spend it on benchmark advanced professional development, foundations and Acadience, and foundations and Acadience. Acadience is what our reading specialist is using to monitor all our students in reading, and foundations the teachers are using in their class. I believe it is just K-3 that is using foundations. The other area was for curriculum, so additional core materials for students in K-3, and then our matching funds is the other area that's we're required to match those funds, which I had already said on the last slide. So this is what we budgeted, how we budgeted this for this current year. So for the purchasing of curriculum and materials, which is our core reading materials, we allocated $14,690. For high dosage tutoring, so a reading tutor, they must be a licensed reading tutor. We allocated $11,000, and that'll be something that we will have to post for that position. Professional development and coaching, so more training in our core curriculum materials. We allocated $15,000 for that, and then more professional development for our in case we need substitutes for the professional development. We allocated $1,000 for that because we only have a full day PD once a month. So if we needed to have teachers out of the classroom for a time for that training, we allocated those funds for substitutes. Next year, so we allocated $15,000 for high dosage tutor. Again, this would be part-time. Professional development and coaching for our core reading we allocated $15,000 for the purchasing of curriculum and materials, just over $12,000, and then again, for substitutes, if need be, we allocated $1,000 for that. And that's what I have. And does anyone have any questions about this grant?
I'm just curious for the tutoring, how are we getting, I don't know, students assigned to that? How are we picking?
So when we do our Acadience testing, we tier the kids, tier 1, 2, and 3. Tier 3 are those students who need the most support. They are anywhere from 2 to 3 grade levels below in reading. And tier 2 would need additional supports, just not as much as the tier 3. And those kids that were in those tiers would be the ones that would work with high dosage tutor. And those kids are already getting pulled out now by staff members in school. But if we can find a licensed, teacher who can come in part-time, I kind of was thinking maybe a retired teacher that might want to come in and work part-time would be a good fit.
And would it be after school or during school?
It would have to be during school. Marie?
Yeah, so with the funding allocated for high dosage tutoring, about how many kiddos do you think you'll be able to serve?
Well, we were looking at about 3 hours per day, and they usually pull out, and it's 30 minutes that they would work in a small group. So it would just really depend on the need, and we'd have to look at the number of students in tier 3. But if they were in tier 3, we really try to keep those groups to like 2 students at a time. So hypothetically speaking, each day they would be able to serve 6 to 9 kids. But we don't have, there's a lower percentage of kids in that tier 3 that need that intensive tutoring.
Okay, yeah, that would be my next question is how many kids or what percentage of kids are in the tier 3?
I'd have to look into I'd have to look at what Crystal had prepared, the percentage of kids. Sarah Grace, do you have any idea? I don't know if she's still on.
I don't know. I know over 70% of our students at the beginning of the school year were categorized in tier 2 or tier 3. I'm not quite sure where it is now, but it's a significant concern to where an additional support is definitely useful.
I've been reading a lot of articles about delays due to COVID and of course a whole other slew of reasons. So not surprising. I just was curious to know, where kids are at.
Yeah, I mean, it's something this year that was one of the main goals going into the year was really having extra support for that and really honing in and helping as many kids as we can increase their reading and help them to level up in their reading. And our reading specialist has done just such a great job and with the Acadians testing. And I think we've already really stepped up and have made some great strides in that, and where everyone's working really hard in that area.
Well, thank you so much for putting in that hard work and that around in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well done.
Working over the break. Thank you. That's tough. Jen, I have a question. When you say it's a non-competitive grant, what does that mean?
That means you're guaranteed the funds. You just have to. So same as some of the other funding that we get through the state, like the ESSER and the integrated funds. They're non-competitive. You're guaranteed to get the money, but there's a lot of aspects you have to report on how you're spending the money, and you constantly, like for some of the other ones, quarterly, I have to fill out a report and send it into the state. Just, keep up with and make sure that we're tracking the progress and that we're actually using the funds, and that by using these funds, we're seeing these increases, and that it is going to good use and it's actually showing change and a difference and improvement for students.
As far as the data and the actual grant information, is that something that you can share as we approach getting more grants for other projects?
What do you mean, like what we have to submit for that?
Yeah, the submission that was successful. I mean, that sort of shared information would help us all, I think.
Yeah, you mean like the questions that Sarah and I had to answer and things like that?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can always, like, next time even share kind of the extent of what we had to do to even get, those funds. We can absolutely share that, because I think a lot of people would be pretty shocked at the amount of work that schools have to do in order to get these non-competitive grants.
Yeah, well, I mean, not necessarily I'm sure it's extensive, but even if it was in just a Word format or however it was submitted, we could use that for future grants.
Oh, every grant is different, and it's submitted on a site state DOE through Smart Sheets, and I don't know, could we share that? Matt, something like that that goes to the DOE? Like, I mean, it's a whole process that you go in, you have to answer these questions, and like Sarah Grace and we did all the questions on a document, and then you cut and paste them in, and it's
It makes you wonder if the state needs us to keep busy non-competitively, because these guys have put an amazing amount of time. I do think to McKenna's question, I believe, or Emily's, just sort of a cliff notes of some of the things that you guys summarized in your narrative. And I could see, Jen, you probably could too, the themes. It's non-competitive, so it's frustrating. If it was competitive, then we'd have, and we won it, then we could see some themes that worked, for another grant. But yeah, I don't think it's usually disseminated out that much, but it could be summarized.
Yeah, but like it's not anything that we could use for. I mean, I don't know, maybe we could, but it's very specific questions.
True, but Jen, I mean, it's always sort of the same basic questions in some way. How are you engaging kids? How is your data showing that your practices are, et cetera?
Like, what are you using now, and what? Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to. Yeah, I'd be really happy to share some, because it's pretty interesting when you look at, and like I said, it's a non-competitive grant, and it's like, wow, you have to do all this for a non-competitive grant, and it's insane.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And that's even for like the integrated and the ESSER, the amount of work that a school has to do to get those funds, and the reporting you have to do to the state is pretty extensive, and it's constant. It's throughout the year. Marie, you had another question?
Yeah. I would love to know, because I don't, education is not my field.
Yes.
So I'd love for all of you educators in the room to chime in on, is this amount of money sufficient for, the need? How helpful do you think it will be? And it's just to inform, just for informational purposes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Whoever was going to answer, go ahead.
No, Jen, you take a shot. I think you or Sarah Grace could address that.
I think it is extremely useful when the state is giving us these funds, and it helps us out tremendously to meet some of our goals within, reading goals, math goals. And I think without this funding, it makes it really difficult for a school to be able to purchase some of the things that are needed to help the students and for the teachers to, do their job. And so I think this type of funding is critical for schools.
And do you think it's enough? I'm just trying to understand, like, how much, if you could have your way, how much money?
Honestly, I don't think there's ever enough, Marie. I think schools never get enough money to really do our jobs well, like just as best as we possibly can. I think there's always a shortage of funds for education in this country. So I think any amount of money we get is great, but I just don't think there is ever enough to do what schools should and can be doing. I think there's just not enough funds given to education in this country. That's kind of where I come from.
Yes, and to quantify further, think about, so let's say you had 165 kids next year average. So we were just told 3 hours per day, 3 times a week. Sarah Grace indicated, and she's right, that percentage was 2-3 earlier in the year. So just spitballing the whole thing, it'd be nice to probably have a 1.5 person to help like this, so you can see how the money is helpful. But if we move even 10 or 15 of those kids and level them, boy, it's sure a positive thing because they're going to get further and further behind.
It looked like Sarah Grace was trying to add something too.
Okay.
Sorry, the survey that went out was really interesting because we got an insight, an anonymous insight of where teachers felt they would like the funds to go, which is really important. An overwhelming majority put that they wanted high dosage tutoring, which is technically a licensed teacher that can teach literacy to students on top of whatever they're getting currently. Even to answer Marie's question, even with if we put the entire grant towards high dosage tutoring, it would not be enough to cover because it's around $41,000 to $42,000 a year. It's not enough to cover a licensed educator full-time. So that's why we decided to make it part-time, and then we could allocate other funds to other resources that teachers said that they wanted. But to answer your question, it was not enough to meet the needs of what majority wanted.
Hey, everybody, I'm going to apologize for losing you all in the snowstorm for a minute. Sarah, I missed part of your presentation, but I will catch it back on the YouTube recording. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. Super glad about this grant. And I will say that I have, in another volunteer capacity as a court-appointed special advocate for kids that are in foster care, I often observe kids in schools, and I've seen some of my kids that I'm a CASA for in what you're describing as high, this sort of intense, pull them out of the classroom for half an hour, do a reading program. And it's really done amazing things for some of the kids I've seen. So I understand the appeal of it. Absolutely. Because I was visiting kids in the Dufer school who had access to that tutoring service, and it just seemed like a great thing.
If you board members, just a thought, go to any of those conferences in the fall, you might look for sessions where you can express, I'm not saying concerns because I don't know if you have them, but if it isn't superintendents, it's board members where I've been to those conferences, they are frustrated at the amount of hoops that have to be jumped through for people that are already working full-time jobs. But just a thought.
Yeah, I hear you on that too. And I'm really grateful for all of the hard work that it takes. Each of these grants is like a job in itself to apply for and then to keep and monitor. And my gratitude too, as well, sort of a shout out to our community members that are also stepping in to help. And this is one way that people in the community can help. Jill, I know, is doing work on the last phases of the DOE grant. Brent Foster sent me an update from the plane from coming back from his vacation, and has just been tremendous. And we'll share more details on the DOE grant. I scratched it for tonight because we're missing so many folks, but we'll do that at the next meeting, and just know that Brent continues to really dog that and work hard on it.
Yeah, it almost seems like the ODE should make available to each school a grant writer full-time. It seems like an enormous amount of work, and having friends that write grants professionally for a living, it's a lot of work on top of all of the emotionally taxing work that teaching involves. And so thank you all. I just want to say that many of us recognize that it just seems almost unfair that you have to seek out funds for things that should just be available to make the children benefit right away, and the teachers have an easier time in their line of work. So
Very good point, Maria. I just would add, I think it's complex somewhat too, because the state's connected to the feds. And so they got to disperse and allocate dollars a certain way and hoops. It's frustrating.
I want to recognize the hour. We're just about at our 2-hour mark, and we because I had to move locations, I don't have my agenda in front of me, but I believe the last thing was a facility report. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Not facility, sorry, a fundraising report from McKenna. So maybe we can move to that unless there's something I'm forgetting.
I have nothing to report. Yeah, we still need to get with the business manager and get that data.
Okay. There's usually the next fundraiser that's on the horizon. I feel like now we're moving into Made for Mosier season. Is that right?
Yeah, we were looking at some dates and if we are going to continue with the same location or not based on their availability. If so, it would probably be on a Friday. So that's the latest.
McKenna, I thought we were going to change the location because it was so expensive and so limiting for so many people.
I'm happy to discuss that anytime.
Cool. Okay, awesome.
And when's the next Tiger's Den meeting do you know, so people know when the next fundraising meeting is?
Nothing has been scheduled.
Okay. We're coming off the holidays, folks, but stand by. I think that's it. Unless anyone else has something else, I'll just put out a reminder that we are seeking folks interested on screening our applicants for the permanent ED position, and to, raise your hand, submit a few sentences about why you're interested. And this goes for school staff, teachers, other staff, as well as community members, parents, and get those paragraphs into Matt, Jen, or a board member, and we will have a meeting on the 23rd of January to put together that committee.
Were we going to talk about the meals, Marie?
Oh, right, Marie, you're on the agenda. I forgot.
No, that's okay. I know everybody, it's getting late. I had come across an article about free meal access, and I since learned that the school did apply. So it appears that free meal access is I think within reach. What happened is in September the USDA lowered its threshold, so school districts with it used to be that the schools with 40% of children who were receiving Medicaid would be eligible for free meal access. And in September, they lowered it to 25%. So that really expands the ability for school districts to receive that. I believe, Matt Henry, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like in February the school should know.
You're right, Maria. That's my understanding. We should know something, and it's trending positive by next month, but no guarantee. But it is somewhat connected to the goal of expanding the eating area too, because if we do receive that direction, we'll definitely likely have a lot more kids eating. And right now we're pretty cramped.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right.
Well, thank you everyone, and thanks again, because that's yet another application process. It's money or funding that's available, but it has to be sought out. And so thank you everyone who's putting in all that extra work. And it surely will benefit nutrition and access to food. I won't go on because I know everyone here.
Don, were you trying to get in on the conversation? I saw you come off mute for a minute.
Oh, I was, if there was any questions on that, I was just gonna answer them. Because I've been part of the process as well. But I think it's pretty well covered.
And I just wanted to thank Dawn and also give a shout out for the grant Dawn wrote and received for expanding and improving the garden. So that's wonderful. Very exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll
Good
look to
work.
all of you to help with that.
We
Happy to
definitely
have
have a group of people that were very excited to help you, so I can pass that along.
That'd be great. We'll need it.
Well, thank you all. Good luck with your with tomorrow morning. It's awful snowy up here on my hill. I don't know how the rest of rest of the roads look, but hopefully it's not too exciting a morning. And yeah, we will reconvene for a special meeting on the 23rd of January. So mark your calendars, and then we will have our regular meeting in February on that Monday, and that was the 12th. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
So those are the two upcoming dates, and thanks everybody. And I think we did 2 hours. Way to go.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Thank
Julia,
you.
for carrying the lead.
Yeah. No problem. Hopefully Dan and Thad get better soon.
Yeah.
Bye all.
Good night.
Good night.